Hello and welcome to another Drive-In Double Feature. I'm Ryan.
I'm Nathan.
And this is the podcast where we talk about 2 movies a week every Tuesday and Thursday. But before I get into anything, we got a Patreon over at patreon.com/drive-in-double-feature-podcast. It's just a little something extra for you patrons out there that decide to help us out and support this podcast. We can play a couple of games, have some discussions, who knows what. Just something extra we're giving to you patrons out there. Thank you again for your support. Don't worry, it doesn't affect any regular content if you choose not to. But we're going back into the Toho well. We're pulling out the Avengers version of this series, and that is 1968's Destroy All Monsters. And Ishiro Honda's back.
Woo, Honda's back. Yeah. Soon to be my most watched director of all time.
I know, getting there.
Yeah, I know this man's filmography so well so far.
And you know what the weird thing is? You haven't even seen close to half of it yet.
That's insane to me.
Because this man literally was making like 2 movies a year.
That he is a working director. Like it was like his 9-to-5 job.
And he hated every minute of it. But anyway. Anyway, this is Destroy All Monsters. Like I said, we did a bunch of other monster movies leading up to this because I wanted some type of context going into it. And guess what? They're all here, even if they're only there for literally seconds.
Like a moment.
It is so great but just the spectacle of just seeing all these monsters there, it's incredible. I mean, just the amount, because at this point we've gotten 1, 2, maybe 3 like suit actors at once. So it's very crazy to see this many suit actors at once. But for this movie being Destroy All Monsters, and this movie has so many monsters in it, they're barely in the movie at all.
I was angry. I know nothing about these movies, right? I was so excited. I had watched all these movies. I'm like, oh, I'm going to see all these monsters together. And when they're together, it rocks. But they're barely in this. It's all human plot. And the human plot, I don't know if this is popular opinion. I think it stinks. I think the human plot is so boring in this one.
So... full disclosure,
yeah,
I didn't like this one even before we talked about this. So
and you were building it up.
I was building this thing. I'm like, Nathan's gonna be so disappointed by this movie.
Yeah. Oh man, it was a bummer though. Like it's crazy because it's so like, what a great idea. Imagine if the Avengers, like it was about like what, Natalie Portman's assistant, and then the Avengers show up like for 2 minutes.
Yeah, like Kat Dennings was like the main character or something like that, and they don't, and all the heroes are not even there. They're just going over like BS, like technical stuff of how to take out aliens or something. So yeah, not gonna lie, this is one of the most boring Godzilla movies yet. Like it's like, okay, Invasion of the Astro Monster, it did have less monster time than this one, but the human plot line of it was strong enough to where, it was like, okay, it's at least like a halfway decent alien invasion movie.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's what it reminded me of the whole time, because this is like a sci-fi story, but it just felt kind of like a rehash, and like it didn't feel like it was anything really original with it.
No.
Yeah, it was. I don't know. It could have been better.
It could have been a lot better. I mean, for the amount, this movie had more budget than, because I've said it, like each movie gets less and less budget each time. This movie had a bigger budget than the original Godzilla movie.
Yeah, that's insane. I mean, it makes sense when you see the monster scenes.
When you see all the miniatures and things like that, it makes sense. But leading up to it, you're just like, like why you got all these like different monsters that you barely use any of this stuff.
Is this one commonly disliked? Is it like no norm? Like, is this like, I wouldn't say one of the worst. I know there's worse ones in this franchise, but like, how does this one rank with most people?
It's kind of in the middle, I'd
In the
say,
middle? Okay.
because
Yeah.
it's not beloved, but at the same time, it's got one of the best like finales for one of these movies. So it's like that kind of saves it for a lot of people. They got all these monsters in here, and they barely use them, and but the sets and stuff like that with like the spaceships and like the planetary and the moon base
Mm-hmm.
looks great,
No, I agree.
but there's so much in here that I think could have worked better, and there was a lot more. Like, I guess Honda kind of had like his own idea of how it should be, where it's like all these monsters are on the island and they're breeding and stuff like that, and people were, and like it kind of like just went to chaos.
Mm-hmm.
But instead, it's this really just unnecessarily like goofy plot.
It's kind of convoluted. It's about space aliens that plant like mind control devices on humans and monsters, so the monsters do their bidding and like destroy the cities. And I don't think it's ever really explained too well or that interestingly.
Well, they do. So I mean, what they explain is they're trying. So this movie's set in the future too. We should say this, and
Yeah.
technically it's 1999 if you go based off of the English dub.
Wow. So we're in a post American Godzilla world in this one.
Post Destroy All Monsters, yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
AG after Ghidorah.
Oh, after Ghidorah. Yes. Perfect.
But anyway, it's set in the future, and like these aliens come down, and their solution is they want to build a better society, more based in technology, and their whole situation's like, well, you got to break a couple eggs to make an omelet type of thing. So they're just like, oh, we just have to murder everybody that's here, and then we could start over.
It's that easy.
And they release this poisonous gas, and it controls all the monsters on the island.
Yeah. And I think there's a setup where something could be good with it, because I think the alien princess, I think she's good in the way she kind of floats in and floats around, almost like she doesn't walk. She's just not utilized very often.
No, there's one shot that I liked, which anyway, I'm sourcing all this from Big Action Bill and the David Callett book, but where he brought up this scene, which I actually think it looked really well too, is the scene where one of the girls that's being mind controlled is kind of just like happily watching all these monsters do it and like destroy the city, and just like yeah, and
she's got like this like grin on her face. It's
but then that's just dropped.
Yeah. It's kind of dropped in the most this movie's really violent. I talked about like the last one we watched being violent, like when they rip off her mind control earring and she's like bleeding from the earlobe. It's I don't know, it's surprising.
Oh, well, you haven't talked about the most violent scene, which happens before, and
yeah,
where they find another professor who's being mind controlled, and they're interrogating him and trying to figure out why these aliens are here, and they don't know how he's being mind controlled. They just know that he's acting different, and so they step away, and then the professor just opens a window and jumps out, and it cuts to one of the worst looking dummies being thrown off of a cliff.
Yeah, this is what reminded me on Tuesday on Her Majesty Secret Service. They both have like people falling down scenes, except this one's like it's almost like a balloon. It kind of just floats its way down to hitting the ground.
Like, who shot that? And they're like, yeah, that's good. That looks good.
I don't know. It made me laugh, and I don't think that was the reaction they wanted.
Yeah, during the suicide attempt.
There's that, but there's also like the scalpel scene where the doctor cuts out the mind control device out behind someone's ear as well.
Mm.
These movies are meant for like kids, they're aimed towards kids being able to watch it, and like it's a little too violent, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more of like conflicting opinions of the people making this movie, because Honda didn't want to make a kids movie, but Subaraya, the effects guy, he thought it should be aimed more towards kids. So I think it's kind of like this weird mishmash. But this one doesn't really have too many comedic moments. This one is very, very serious.
Yeah, it is a pretty dry experience. But God, when those monsters are on screen, man, if it had a really like even like a decent human plot, this could be a really great one.
Yeah, and the problem is too is just the characters in this movie. Besides the plot, I couldn't tell any of them apart practically. I mean, the only one I could tell was the girl that was being mind controlled, but like the two main protagonists that were in it, I'm just like, I don't know who they are. I don't care. They don't have a personality in any way. They don't even, because the other movies, they at least do some type of like little moment to endear you to them or whatever. Like
at least like a trait or something. Oh, go ahead.
Right. Well, no, I was going to say like in Son of Godzilla, like the one guy, you know, he lands on the island and then he does like the scene where he makes everyone food, but he used like the laundry water and then, or like in Mothra where it's like this guy, like, you know, he's called like the bulldog of a reporter, and he does like all these little funny scenes.
This movie makes me miss that trope that every Godzilla movie has a reporter character, because at least with the reporter character, that's something I can latch on to.
This movie is just a bunch of boring science techno jargon.
Yeah,
and it's so sad to see.
Yeah, it really is. It is a bummer. Like it's a huge bummer. But God, when I love the suits in this one, I will say that they're a great. Godzilla.
What? So
looks great.
Let's do it. All right, roll call. Who's in this movie?
Okay.
All right.
You want to roll through it?
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
So first one, obviously Godzilla. He's back, and he. In continuity, this is the same Godzilla that's been there since Raids Again, and he's been alive this whole time
until 1999.
He's still here, and it is still the same. It's a brand new suit that was created.
I could tell.
Yeah, and I actually like this suit. It looks pretty good. It looks good.
This is what I imagine Godzilla looks. In my head, when I think about old Godzilla, he kind of fits that perfectly to me.
He doesn't have like a sinister look. There's like a lot of different features. This one, he's a lot more slim. He's not like real bulky. And they got rid of the radio controlled eyes. He doesn't look like a frog anymore, and he definitely does not look like whatever the hell he looked like in Son of Godzilla.
Yeah, that was rough. Well, speaking of Son of Godzilla,
Minya.
Yeah, Minya's back. He looks the same,
and he's still Minya. He just doing his little squeaks. But Godzilla plays Nakajima, and still the same suit actor that played Minya from Son of Godzilla. He's back, Little Man Michan, and then we get Rodan, one of my personal favorites. He's back.
I do love seeing Rodan.
He's back in his form, and it's pretty much the same suit that was in there from Ghidorah, Invasion of the Astro Monster, just touched up a little bit.
Yeah, same kind of deal where his head's kind of like a little tilted down. I don't know. He's cool. I always like seeing him.
This one, it was played by Teru Aragaki, and who had played other different monsters in the series. He was actually, believe it or not, he was one of the suit actors for the original Gamera movies.
Oh, okay, cool.
Now, what's Gamera? Who knows? We'll find out soon, maybe.
It only becomes a thing when we talk about it on the show.
Exactly. One big returning one, Anguirus. He's back.
Yeah,
it's been so long.
And I like seeing Anguirus back. What's the last thing he was in was the second Raids. Godzilla, yeah, that's crazy. Anguirus is cool. He's like a little dog.
Other than Godzilla's iconic roar and Ghidorah, he has my third favorite roar.
Really? Okay, cool.
Then he's played by Todaki Watanabe.
Okay.
and again, another suit actor they've had at the time. And that one, the Angra suit for that one, totally brand new suit. They built it from scratch.
Oh, really? Oh, well, probably, yeah, because it's been so long since the last one.
He's got a little more horns on him. He's looking good though. That's a great looking Angus.
He's looking sharp.
He did. He is. That silver skin just shines.
I think I agree.
Mothra is back in her larva form.
Yeah, in larva form. So I wasn't too like, oh yay.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they didn't want a bunch of flying characters, but
that's probably a lot.
At the same time, I'm like, if you're gonna do it, you just come on. I mean, like, get the best looking Mothra you can.
I agree. You go all out. This is destroy all monsters.
Yeah. The next suit actor, Gorosaurus.
I kind of love Gorosaurus. I'm not gonna lie, because he's just like a dinosaur.
He's a dinosaur, and he's back. He's jumping and kicking too.
Yep, he does his big kicks. Am I okay? Really quickly to go into a weird thing with him.
Go ahead.
Why does he dig? I never thought of Gorosaurus as like a digging type gods, like a kaiju.
All right. So I'm glad you brought this up, because this is an issue with the script. All right, so next monster, because I have to mention this one in order to explain this point. The next monster is Baragon from Frankenstein Conquers the World, and it is still the same costume. It is beat to hell. It does not stand up to too much. So originally in the script, that was supposed to be Baragon coming out from underneath the ground.
Which makes more sense.
Because Baragon was the digging monster. And he was supposed to come out of the ground, but they were so worried that the suit would just like fall apart of him coming from out of the ground that they're like, all right, Gorosaurus is the digging monster now. Which I'm like, why? Like, I mean, he didn't have to dig. He could have just been doing something else.
Yeah, he could have just showed up there. Yeah, it just looks really weird because T-Rexes, I don't really, because his head pops out of the ground and stuff. Or he's not based off a T-Rex. He's based off of some other dinosaur, but still, it just looks weird.
Allosaurus.
I think you're right.
Yeah, I think so. But that's him. He's back. He's doing Baragon's thing, because even in the official manga, which I haven't read, it is Baragon coming out of the ground.
Makes sense.
So next one, we got Varan, who is even less than Baragon.
Yeah, Varan, like just that one sequence, like him flying up, that's it, right? Like
there's you see him fly down and just chilling on the battlefield. Like he just goes and spectates. He doesn't fight or anything. But so the reason for that is it's the same suit from the original Varan movie. That suit is almost 10 years old at this point.
Yeah.
Again, beat to hell. They did not want Varan doing anything, because Varan was originally supposed to be having like a mid-air duel with Ghidorah at the end. And it didn't end up happening. So they're just like, just get him on the sidelines. And then we got one who, unfortunately, I missed when we were talking about is Manda, who looks like a giant snake, pretty much, or
he looks like a
serpent.
He looks like a dragon, kind of, to me,
like a traditional dragon.
Yeah, I thought the design on him was really cool. I was like, because we hadn't seen him before and I wasn't expecting him, and I was like, oh wow, that's a really cool monster. I like his design a lot.
Yeah, and because of that, I think that might be one of the next ones we cover, which is an underwater themed movie.
Oh, fun. Okay, cool.
So that's where Manda comes from. Some other and then we also get Kumanga, this giant spider.
Yeah,
he's there. Kind of. I think
he just shows up.
He does, but at the same time, I'm pretty sure they just ripped half of the scenes from Son of Godzilla.
I'm sure they did.
So, anyway, there some other notable monsters. Originally, they wanted King Kong. but by that time their licensing had ran out, so they were not allowed to do any more King Kong movies.
He would have made the movie better.
Who knows? Maybe. And then the other one they wanted was, I mentioned this a very long time ago. It's this other monster from the movie called Gorath, I believe. And it was supposed to be a giant space walrus.
Oh yeah, you did talk about that at one point.
And originally he was going to be in the script, but Ishiro Honda hates that movie so much. He's just like, no.
Gotcha.
So he was not in this final scene, but it is mainly that, like, you see the monsters attacking the city, and it looks really good in that. And then, of course, the main bad guy, King Ghidorah, he's back.
Yeah, he's back, and he's cool. He's a really cool monster. It's always a joy to see him.
He always looks great, and this movie, that if you're gonna watch one scene from this movie, this is it.
Oh, the final fight scene.
Yeah, well, I mean, I really hate to like just glance over the human plot so much, but it's just like really, I mean, it's just kind of like they're trying to find the base. They go up on the moon, and they're trying to figure out how these monsters are being controlled, and they find out, and it's not really that interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like we beat up on it a lot, but like I agree. It's like I try my hardest when we do these movies for the podcast to be not very passive, to really take it all in. I felt like my eyes are glazing over during these scenes. It was hard to watch the human part.
So I knew this movie was going to be very slow going into it.
Yeah.
So normally a lot of times when I watch these movies, I watch them in my living room, and when you're in the living room, you have a lot of distractions, but I know this one was going to be boring. So like, I like hunkered myself down, put myself like in a dark room where I can, and then with the headphones on and everything. So I'm like 100% like distraction free. I still got bored watching this. And, but man, oh man, when all that human stuff finally gets wrapped up and we get into this final fight where it's all the monsters and they're all fighting Ghidorah, it's one of the best scenes in the entire series.
Oh, it's such a spectacle. I before we get into it, I feel like I have to mention, because I do think it's really good, when all the monsters get together to destroy Tokyo. I think that's also really good. Some of the best miniature work in this series in a long time, because I feel like city destructions kind of fall into the wayside, which is kind of where a lot of the originals did. And I think it looks excellent having all these monsters just rip these buildings up, and Mothra pops out of a subway. It's really
Mothra jumps out of a subway. Rodan flies over and destroys the town. Manda has a scene where it's like wrapping up and everything.
Over like good. A monorail or something. Yeah, no, it looks really cool. But no, you're right. That final fight scene, I think, and if you want to look up like really cool stuff from this series, I think it's just neat seeing all these monsters together.
It's so good. I mean, just some highlights. I mean, it's all the monsters. They finally have broken the mind control curse, and they're free, and they're like, oh, well, now Earth can control these monsters. And what I like too is like they're on the battlefield, like they're like getting ready and everything. They're it's like they're getting ready for a war almost.
Yeah, and I really like the shot. It reminds me of because it's the most modern thing I have connected to. It's kind of the Avengers. You get a shot of all of them standing there, and they're almost pumping up, ready to fight this monster.
And then you have Varen and Baragon and Manda just like, we're gonna be over here.
We'll watch. You guys take care of it. We're too much work for this.
I know, which is a shame. I mean, because I actually like the way Varen and all the other two are done. I mean, I like their design so much.
I agree.
So it's a shame that you barely see them in this movie.
No, I totally agree. I would love to see more of them. But I mean, what we get, I'm not gonna lie, Ghidorah here gets the crap kicked out of him. He does not really stand a chance against all these guys.
It's so phenomenal. It's such a great scene. That one of my favorites is when Anguirus bites down on Ghidorah's neck, and then Ghidorah flies up carrying Anguirus.
Yes.
It looks so great. And then Anguirus just falls from the sky.
Yeah, and he's falling like back first. And I mean, like when he bites onto him, it's like bloody too. Like there's like blood dripping from him. My favorite part is whenever one of Ghidorah's heads on the ground. I think it's Godzilla stomps on his neck over and over.
Godzilla straight up curb stomps.
And he's bleeding out of the mouth. It's like, oh my god, I need more of this, please.
And then like Rodan is like biting on his tail, and like Gorosaurus is like kicking him in the back, like doing his jump kick.
Yeah, like God, this dude stands no chance. And Minya even gets in a hit. You know, he does a smoke ring and chokes him out.
Minya does the final blow. Minya kills him.
Yeah, and Minya, this little kid one, is just dancing in the background, like, "Ooh, we did it! I killed him."
Who knows? Who knew it was so easy? Godzilla should have just brought Minya with him during Ghidorah the three-headed monster.
Minya's the secret weapon, I think. But yeah, it's so cool seeing them all together, like crowded around, because you never really see all these suit actors or these suits in the same shot. Usually you only see two, but to see like 5 people in one shot, it's a spectacle.
It is. It really is. And it's parts like that, like really enhance my love for the series. And it's just like, man, it's like this movie is almost like such a disappointment, though. It's just like we could have gotten so much more.
God, I really wish I could have came out of this like, this is awesome. This is what I've been waiting for. But only like 10 minutes of it is what I've been waiting for, you know?
Now you know why I was delaying it so long.
Yeah, to get me so hyped up for it. No, because it's such a cool idea. Man, I mean, I get it. Human plots have to be a part of this. It can't be all monster fighting. But just we've seen some of these that have really good human plots, and it's just sad to see.
For one, it's like there is no central human character. Like there's at least, probably like 3 to 4 human characters that they focus on most of the time. And this one, it's just there's so many humans, and there's really no human scenes where they like have like a good time, or there's no human scenes where it just expresses their emotions. So it's like we don't really get the same effect as we do in other movies. And which is fine. If you're going to do that, you better be bringing it on the monster game, which they do. But by then it's just like, really, like there's only 5 minutes left.
I know it comes in so. I think I watched it on my Xbox, and I think I had to pause to get up. So I had to hit the select button, had to pause it, and then I saw like, wait, there's only like 5 minutes left of this. There's not any more of these monsters together. I was really sad.
Another thing too, I did not like about this is, so you have this end scene that's like you're all pumped up and everything. You're like, woo, like that was great. And then they could have ended it right there, honestly, and it would have been fine. But instead, they're like, oh no, here comes this fire dragon, and
yeah, and it gets you. It's cool because you think it's a monster. Like at least that's what I thought.
You think it's going to be like this big new monster. It's going to be like this bad guy that are going to be taking them out, but it's just a flying saucer.
Yeah, which just look like big mushroom heads. Like that's what they looked like to me. And
the humans are the ones that take it out too.
Yeah, so boring. But I do love that the bad guys think that it's all over, but somehow Godzilla has found their secret base and goes straight to them and takes them out. And they're like, oh God, they underestimated Godzilla. He knows who the real bad guy is. Even though the humans have these monsters like trapped on Monster Island, where they're like
Monster Land.
Oh, sorry, Monster Land, have them trapped there, fed with a supply of dolphins to eat, which is really messed up.
I did like that scene though, where it was just Rodan diving into the water to snatch up a dolphin.
It takes a whole dolphin to eat. That's good eating, I guess.
We do get a nice little. I do like the little montage at the very end where it shows each of the monsters like on the island. They're all kind of like waving goodbye almost.
The best they can. I like Godzilla's goodbye because he just kind of lifts his arm a little bit, nudges a little. It's like a really nice goodbye.
Well, yeah, and it's like these little miniatures too when they pull out from the shot, and it's like,
yeah.
And Mina's got like the same like goofy like open mouth like smile.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I just so much more could have been done with this, and that's why I just, I cannot in good conscience give this a whole movie a recommend. Like in my personal opinion, I cannot. I mean, you can watch the YouTube, you get YouTube like the final scene with Ghidorah, and you'll have gotten just as much enjoyment out of it as I have.
Yeah, exactly. I think in hindsight, I may have came out of it liking a little bit more than like now talking about it, because it ends with a really great monster fight. But I just don't. The journey's not worth it. Look up the fight. It's really good, but otherwise, I don't think there's any point in watching this whole movie.
No, it's easily. It's skippable almost. So I mean, it's. But
if all the monsters weren't in it, then it would be like, you can skip over this if you go through the franchise. But if you go through the whole thing, you kind of have to, because it's got all the monsters. It's tough.
It's I mean, if you're really into it, I mean, everyone has their own opinions with this. I mean, maybe you're super into the sci-fi elements, but even liking sci-fi movies wasn't enough to help out that.
It didn't help me.
So, but I think that's it, unless there's anything. I will say this movie was originally there. Well, there's conflicting opinions. Once again, that this was supposed to be the final Godzilla movie.
Really? Okay.
So originally they were saying this was supposed to be the final Godzilla, but others had said that no, we'd always planned to make more. So it's not really clear, but to me, it's like I could have seen this being the last one, or thinking like, oh, we're going to go out with a bang type of thing. So I could have seen that if that were true. But this movie did do slightly better than Son of Godzilla. So
cool.
Despite downward trends, this movie trended upward just a little bit. And I guess it was just enough to justify making another Godzilla movie. And boy, oh boy, it is it's gonna start getting a little rough, Nathan. Not gonna lie.
I know the next one is really infamous, so I'm ready.
So we'll talk about that though another day. But for now, we're going to shut the book on Toho for now. And Nathan, what are we going to be talking about next time?
All right. Well, Ryan, we're actually going to change it up a little bit next week, because we got a special theme coming out, and you actually get to pick Tuesday's movie. So, Ryan, what are we going to be talking about on Tuesday?
Oh, well, Nathan, I got one thing to say to you. Nathan, come out to play.
We're going to be playing the Warriors video game by Rockstar Games.
Well, I do like that game a lot, but no, we're not. We're going to be watching my favorite movie of all time.
Oh my God.
That's not high enough. We're going to be watching 1979's The Warriors. It's over on Paramount Plus, Pluto TV, and yeah, it should be a good time. I cannot wait.
Well, I'm excited to talk about it as well.
But in the meantime, if you have any thoughts, opinions about any of the Godzilla movies we talked about, please email us over at driveindoublefeaturepodcast@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at DIDFpod. Once again, check out the Patreon over at patreon.com/driveindoublefeaturepodcast. But until next time.